IT. Today we are continuing talking about corpus linguistics. Today's lecture is very light. This is my way of teaching after I give you some condensed lectures, condensed with information. I give you some light lectures just to take your breath again, and then you continue with me. So today we're going to talk about some insights obtainable from corpora. We talked about one example last time about error analysis. Non-native speakers like us, Arabic speakers, speaking English, our errors can be found in a corpus, and we can analyze them and we can see how to improve them. Today we are going to continue about what information we can get from a corpus. But not maybe all obtainable by us from corpora. We have free access to. This is for sure. Most of these have very obvious use for both descriptive linguists and teachers, and maybe learners too, and others in the range of users. So the information I'm giving to you today is mainly related to descriptive linguistics or descriptive linguists or teachers, sometimes for learners, useful for learners, but they are mainly for teachers and linguists. General English, this is one insight that we can get from a corpora. Frequencies of individual words across varieties, certain and sure. We want to know the difference between certain and sure. We have these two synonyms. We can check them through different varieties. Which one occurs more, for example, in academic writing, and which one is more appearing, for example, in spoken language, in TV, in radios, in letters, in emails. So we want to check the frequency. So this is describing general English language. Also characteristics of varieties and individual authors, frequencies overall. Well, sometimes individual authors, individual writers have certain characteristics. If you read sometimes an article, you would say, well, this is must be blah blah the writer. This must be Abdullah al-Fraidan. This must be Hussein al-Ali. This must be whoever. So sometimes from the writing itself, we can figure out the author. So certain authors, some authors have some individual characteristics we can get from a corpus. Details of meaning of vocabulary items and collocation, qualitative details of synonyms. As we said, we have the words sad and happy. We want to know the difference between them. Mutual information for money and flatly. All of these can be obtained from a corpus. Homonym and sense frequencies. Look out. You want to know what does it mean, look out. Lexical grammar. Verbs used with that clauses. We want to know which verbs most frequently occur with that clause. Do you know that? Do you see that? Do you understand that? So we want to collect all the verbs, not all of them, but at least we want to know which are most frequently used or occurring with that. Grammar, uses of with. We want to know the uses of the preposition with. We can check it in a corpus. We click, we type with, and then click find or search. You will get all the instances with. Use of words with a heavy pragmatic dimension, flipping right, yes. Lexical phrases, you know what I mean. You want to check all of these lexical phrases, their usage and how frequently they are used. Translation, very important. We use corpus for translation. Sometimes you get puzzled and dazzled looking for a correct translation of a specific word. So you go to check your corpus or a corpus that you have to get the right translation. Frequency of translation equivalences, this is what I mean. So if you have two corpora, one in L1 and one L2, you want to check the equivalences. Learner language, you want to know the language of the learners, because sometimes our language is not 100% English language. As I said, we have sometimes some problem. So this is called learner language. So the learner language, sometimes they have their own language, slightly different or sometimes greatly different from the English language. So error and performance analysis information from teacher made mini corpora of their learner's language. So one way, you have a mini corpus. You go to your classroom, you collect all the assignments from your students, you have your mini corpora, and then you start analyzing them for error and performance. Data from large corpora of learner language. Yes, so this can be a data from a larger corpora. Frequency of types of lexical error. Again, sometimes we have lexical errors. We do not choose the correct lexical item or the correct vocabulary sometimes. So we want to know all of these lexical errors, grammatical errors, and etc. Research on error correctability by dictionaries. This is very important. If you want just to update an old dictionary, you can use a corpus. This is what I myself did in one of my research. I checked different dictionaries to see whether their meanings of certain words are up to date or not. And this is one way we can get from a corpus linguistics. General types of corpus: task, investigation. It's possible to classify most corpus projects or generate new ones as combinations of choices from these main dimensions for any given language assumed to be English here. So it's possible sometimes to merge your own corpus with a ready-made corpus. What kind of language is of interest? This is a very important question. From normal native speaker adults today, then it could be spoken or written. So if you are looking for normal native speaker, so daily life, daily written and spoken data is recommended. Standard or non-standard, do you want UK English or American English? From everyday language or the specialist register of newspapers or poetry or academic prose, etc. So you have all of these. Which one is of interest to you to look at? From the past, literary or not? From Shakespeare, from Dickinson, from foreign language learners or from native speakers? From normal native speakers, children, not adults. From speakers with language disabilities. This is another choice. Second questions. What levels of language are you interested in? Is it at the level of vocabulary, lexis? Or is it grammar and syntax? Or is it sounds and intonation? Is it spelling and pronunciation? Or is it text, discourse, rhetorical structure? So starting from vocabulary, grammar, sounds, spelling, or a text, a discourse. Or pragmatics, how people use the language in their daily life. This is very important, pragmatics. Again, is it spoken and how natural our speeches is. This is something we talked about last time. So very important. We talked about this last time, but this is very important and related to the questions that we asked before. You need to be reminded of all of these issues and the criteria once you want to establish your own corpora. What is the purpose of the investigation? More language research or more pedagogical? This is very important. Is it doing this just for research purposes? You want to do a research, a piece of research, and then you get your results to the audience, to the people, to the academia? Or is it for pedagogical, for educational purposes? You want to implement the results in your classroom to improve your students, to improve the materials, to improve the textbooks, to improve the teaching styles. You need to specify the purpose of the investigation. Is it to describe an aspect of language or to compare different styles, different authors? More exploratory research, you are exploring only ethnographic, or is it to check on proposed rule or past finding or a theory-based prediction in some area of language? More hypothesis testing research. So you have a hypothesis that you read about, or you have a hypothesis in your mind and you want to test it through the corpus. For example, you would say, well, children of Arabs or Arabic speakers can learn English very fast and fluently. They don't have errors. This is a hypothesis in your mind. So you get all the data from children of Arabic speakers or Arabic speakers children, and then you analyze them for errors. If you don't find too many errors, well, then the hypothesis is true. If you find errors, well, then you have time to adjust or to reject that hypothesis. To test out a parser that some computational linguists have designed. Well, yes, with computational linguists, they use some special parsing system to analyze language. They have certain codes to analyze each piece of language. So they come up with all of these parsing formula. So you take one of them, you apply it to the corpus, and you find it whether this parsing is true or not. To help create language syllabuses or teaching materials, as I said, for pedagogical reason, you want to improve teaching materials and syllabus. To help evaluate syllabuses or teaching materials, not only creating but evaluating your own syllabuses and teaching materials. For example, you have a textbook and you found all the textbook and all the vocabulary in that textbook is very old. They are not frequent. So you go for your administrators or whoever, you would say, well, this textbook is not useful. Why? Because it does not contain too many frequent English words. Well, we may change the book or we may try to add more materials to that book. To use or evaluate corpus work as a class, task, a form of CAL, yes. You can have a form of CAL classroom by giving your student a task, and then they search the corpus to find some interesting results. You give them, well, give me the difference between reason and cause. What is the difference between reason and cause? And then go to the computers, they log into the corpus, try to find the differences between the two words. So it can be a class task, a form of CAL task to help write a dictionary or grammar book. As I said, corpus sometimes used to write a dictionary. From the corpus, you can get how people use of certain words, and you can get the meaning of the words that you want to include in the dictionary right from the corpus. Or to write a grammar book, you would say, well, based on the corpus, people use the word, for example, go and goes, blah, 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 blah. So this is very useful to help evaluate a dictionary or grammar book, not only writing or creating, also evaluation, and etc. The last question is, what kind of corpus information is needed? More concordance type information, examples of occurrences of things in context to analyze. So what we want from a corpus is to give us all these concordances. As I said, concordance is the examples coming from the corpus. The examples coming from the corpus is called concordances. So what we need these concordances to have context, more context for us, to give us the things that we want to analyze. More frequency information about words or whatever. It should give us the frequencies of words. If you click, it gives you all the frequency numbers of the words that you want. For example, you want the articles a and the. So it gives you, for example, the occurred 20,000 times. The word a 156,000 times. So we need all information from the corpus. So concordance, we want frequency. Also, we want most of the combinations implied above are possible to some extent with existing corpora. However, they are not all available to us here. Yes. So most of the major existing corpus, there is one in Britain called the British National Corpus, and also one in America, but all of this information are not available to us for free. We need to pay for them, but it's possible to get all of this information if you pay for their licenses. So this is it for today. As I told you, very short, very light lecture. See you inshallah in lecture number 11. All the best.